We all know someone like this. They have their AR, their plate carrier. Behind them, they have their back the blue flag and their don't tread on me flag. They're just conflicted. They're sad. They're depressed. All they really want is a group of friends or teammates that they can rely on and a community that they can be a part of.
And maybe you know some people like this. They have a community that may only be one friend, but hey, at least they both have ARs and maybe a plate carrier. And even still, they have a nagging suspicion that one day they're gonna end up like this, surrounded by tens of thousands of dollars worth of tactical fighting equipment, but there's no food and water. And even if they had water to cook their MREs with, they still don't know how to purify it, and it just wouldn't help them.
So today we're gonna show you guys what it looks like to be a capable individual, how to build a team of like-minded people, and how to be a part of a greater community that can pull everyone together in hard times.
So let's start by taking a look at a team or organization, if you will, that takes preparedness to an extreme level. They do this professionally and all while conducting very dangerous missions, and that would be the infantry. Now, the best of the best inside of the infantry would be Rangers. Take a look at this clip real quick. What you're seeing are Rangers conducting extreme violence in an organized, artistic way. These guys are so good that C-130 pilots can pick them out of a crowd of other heat signatures and IR strobes. It's not just that Rangers use special tactics or formations, it's not because they're all jacked, and it's not even the equipment they run. These guys are elite infantry, and to put it bluntly, that's because every man is responsible for his individual role, no questions asked.
I'm not capping.
Is this on God?
It's always on God.
So what we've built here on this table is a little diagram to help explain how the Rangers work and how it will work for you just as a normal civilian. In the inner ring, we have the individual, and we'll populate this with things the individual should be capable of. In the middle ring, we have the team. This is different skill sets, maybe specialties that people bring to the table. And in the outer ring, we have the community. This is the broad, overall, like regional group of people who support and sustain everything that the team and the individual is doing.
So how do the pros do it? This is typically what you're gonna see inside of the Rangers. You're gonna have a squad leader who is in charge of 2 fire teams. So you're gonna have a fire team leader, you're gonna have a rifleman, you're gonna have an automatic rifleman, machine gunner, and then a grenadier. What happens when they need water? What happens when they need to be relocated 20 some miles, 100 some miles? That's where the community starts to come in. And that's when you have intel teams and you have leadership, comms guys, transportation, supply and logistics for everything from that water, food, and ammunition. The list goes on and on. These guys only have a specific task and they still need a broader community to be able to accomplish those goals as well. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, but hold on, this whole preparedness tactical stuff only started as a hobby. I have a full-time job and a family to take care of, right?
That's very true. You are just a normal person. We're just normal dudes. Our full-time job and your full-time job is not to build a team of prepared individuals.
Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
You have to go to work. You have to pay the bills. So let's pull all these professional jobs off the board and place you here in the center as an individual and go from there. So let's say this is you. Maybe you're like me. You've got all of your tactical gear squared away. You're a cat guy because they are the superior pet with brilliant minds. You're just humans trapped in fur bodies.
Maybe you're like this guy. You're just starting out on your tactical or preparedness journey, but hey, you at least have something to start with. A pistol that you carry every day. Regardless of where you're actually starting from, you have to pay attention to the fact that a team is only as strong as its weakest link. And with that in mind, you are also only as strong as your weakest capabilities too. You can have a list of food, water, medical, guns, night vision, but even still, if you're not fit, you're lacking in the fitness space and you're not well-rounded before you're stepping into a team.
Okay, so let's place these guys on the board. As the individual, we'll have the cool guy here and the normal guy over there. And let's place some of the most important skill sets and capabilities that an individual should have, almost like a skill tree from Fallout, right here in this middle circle. And these things will keep you from being a liability. These are basically the basics of what you need to be a self-sustaining person to a degree. So first we have ammo. This is like all of your guns and shooting stuff. This is what most people in this space only concern themselves with because it's super fun. And there's also medical. Obviously, this is less glamorous, but every person should have some basic medical knowledge and tools, like how to apply a tourniquet, how to stop a bleed, how to keep someone from choking. We've done videos on this.
Or water. Thank goodness this is starting to become a lot more popular as well, but you're only gonna be able to survive so long if you don't have hydration of some kind. And that also goes along with food, sustenance, keeping calories inside of your body to operate or honestly chop firewood for the winter.
And then you have basic comms, even just like a radio or just knowing the phone numbers of the people around you. You know, the word community is comms plus unity. It's everyone being able to communicate with each other. This is super important that a lot of people just completely overlook. Then you also have basic navigation. Do you know how to get around the area that you live in? Most people don't. They just turn on Google Maps and they go from there.
And then you have mobility, which goes along with navigation as well. If all you're able to do is sit at home and hope that something good happens, you're stuck. Mobility opens the door to being able to trade and barter or work, check in on your friends and other individuals. Fitness, can't stress this one enough.
If you're not fit, you're gonna die.
And then finally, stability, mental stability, physical stability, taking care of your family at home.
Now, when it comes to building out your team, we've all been sold kind of a bill of goods as to what that team should look like. They're all super tactical pipe hitters. Is that it? Did I get it right that time? Not pipe layers. Maybe somebody like this, right? Completely squared away, an absolute stud, no homo.
Maybe someone like this who's got some cool night vision and a revolver as well, but he still fits the build.
This guy right here, who's taken all D-level courses of the Haley strategic team, looks just like Travis Haley, Mike's dad.
Mike himself, I need to find my own Garantham. There's gotta be others out there just like him, right?
And then this dude who is like, he looks a little chonky, but that little bit of flub has actually created a lot more muscle because it's just extra stuff he's having to carry. The dude is totally squared away. He looks awesome too.
Now again, keep in mind, this is what has been sold as far as the ideal fire team that you have to have at home, but there are some concerns and other things that you have to take into consideration before you just run fast, loose, and fancy free with these guys.
And once you and almost all of these guys have really maxed out that tree, or you're really close to maxing it out, that's when you can start to look at the broader community and bringing in some specialized skill sets and assigning roles to those that are already trusted in your inner circle or in your team. So let's look at what normal people that are around you, both in your inner circle and in your community, actually look like and what they can bring to the table. So let's start with this guy. He's a little overweight, but you met him in a local rifle class. And as it turns out, he's actually an amazing armor. You know how to shoot guns, you can't really work on them very well. He's a valuable asset and he's very much like-minded, so maybe he's a guy that you start to pull in to your inner circle.
And then maybe you bump into someone at a grocery store and he happens to be wearing a shirt along with a company that you like and strike up a conversation. But as it turns out, he works in Intel and he could be a very valuable asset as far as collecting information as a whole, as well as signal intelligence, not just for yourself, but for a collective team altogether.
And then you have this little chunker who you met at a public range who came kitted to the nines and sweated his butt off the whole time. And he's a little weird, but my goodness, he is a genius with comms. He can set your whole crew up with encrypted radios. He can teach you how to program them. And he becomes super valuable really early on because you've just hit a roadblock trying to figure out this radio wizardry magic on your own. So he's definitely someone that I would start to bring into my crew and maybe invite to the garage to work out, you know, one time a week. Oh, one more thing about Little Chonker. See, he has tens of thousands of dollars worth of gear, and the reason why he's sweating is he just watched our signature reduction video and realizes that all that gear is just gonna get himself killed because he doesn't have any ARDs or anti-reflective devices on his rifles, his rifle optics, his LPVOs, his EOTechs, all of the kit that he's invested in, his lights. He is one light ND away from catching it around to his big fat belly. And so if you don't wanna be like Little Chonker, head over to 100 Concepts and pick up some cool stuff at a discount. Link in the description.
Maybe you decide to take a medical class and you meet someone who is really squared away. Someone like our Paul Pollock, who has a lot of life experience and is a really good dude. A relationship grows, and over time, he becomes someone that you can ask basic medical information for. A huge asset for any team, regardless of what it is that you're doing.
Now, maybe you run across this guy. He goes to church with you, and he's always happy to tell you about what he believes and everything that's wrong with the world and all the things that he has and what he's gonna do when it all falls down. And there's just something off about him. Clearly his like stability meter is not quite full yet. So this is someone in the community. You keep your tabs on him, you're friendly with him, but maybe not someone you trust.
Maybe you marry into a family and one of the uncles, is kind of an odd duck. He doesn't want anyone over to his house. He never really tells you what he does other than the fact that he grows his own food. Now, you may not build a really strong relationship with him. He may not fall into team simply because he doesn't want to be inside of your team or around you very much. But even still, whenever you see him around at Thanksgiving, you can pick his brain on his interests, which could be gardening and some food supply.
And then maybe you run into one of Chonker's friends who actually happens to be your brother-in-law. And he's a total nerd and he's spent all this money on kit because he's in real estate. A part of his real estate job means he has to be good with drones because that's how you market real estate these days. So all of a sudden he becomes a guy that can teach you how to fly drones or even fly them himself if the time arises. And because he is technically family, even though it's just by law, you know what? I want to start to try and pull him in and make him a little bit less cringe.
So you humble yourself a little bit and decide to actually go take a low light, white light class. And you meet this guy who just so happens to work at Mod Light. Now, they're out there getting some content because they happen to have a new YouTube channel. You build a relationship, and while you're getting education and information on low light, white light stuff, you're learning about what makes a light good. You follow up by going to their YouTube channel and you start to learn more about Mod Light as a whole, the versatility, the capabilities that they put into each unit, and you end up buying yourself a Mod Light, building a relationship, and then while they may not live near you, you at least have a high quality product and people that you can rely on if you need. If you guys are interested in Mod Light, they are what we run, and link is in the description. Now, brother-in-law got most of his interests from dad, who is now your father-in-law. Now, father-in-law doesn't really enjoy going out and shooting tactically. He likes shooting shotguns and, bolt-action rifles. And that's all well and good, but he has been hunting the space that you live in for a long time with nothing more than Realtree camo and a flannel. And he doesn't understand all that it is that you do, but again, he is family by law, and so he can be someone who you can gather a lot of really good information from in regards to hunting and trying to get more than just growing your own food. Now you have meat and protein.
And then there's the guy that you find on Instagram, and he's an instructor, he's a trainer. You sign up for one of his classes, and it turns out he's actually relatively local. This is our Drew Estel, but with much thinner thighs. And he is a brilliant leader. He's led men in combat. He has started his own company. He knows how to organize and motivate people. He's also an amazing tactician. He understands how to move people and to navigate people for the best possible effect. He's very wise, he's very smart, he's got good discernment. He's all the way up there on the stability, the fitness, the mobility. He's got his ducks all in a row. He's maxed out the skill tree. I'm gonna start hanging out with this guy.
Drew Estel has a neighbor who just so happens to live on the water. And Estel's neighbor has been a longtime fisherman and loves to go boating. Because of that capability, you can then start to access a lot of different modes of transportation through waterways. You can ask questions, you can utilize the boat, and he is also a gun guy and really likes what it is that you're doing and wants to help out wherever he can. Now, he may not fall directly into your team, but he will still land inside of the community.
Then let's say you go to your local bank because you need to open up a new checking or a new savings account, and you are greeted at the door by this guy. Obviously he doesn't have his gun out, but he recognizes you, he sees the shirt that you're wearing and is like, oh, I like that company too. I have this, 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 and this. But he's really, really, really way too good looking and you just don't trust him around your wives. So maybe we leave him out in the community, but he introduces you to his boss because, you're a VIP and he wants to escalate you and give you like the full treatment. And this guy is actually kind of squared away. He's way more subtle. He carries a Glock even though he works at a bank. He tells you not to tell anybody. And he is a finance wizard, and he is going to help you figure out how to invest, how to budget your money appropriately. And man, I really like this guy. He's still not quite into it as much as you are, but he is someone that I'm going to build a friendship with, and I'm going to keep him in the community, but away from the other dude who likes to steal wives.
So you leave the bank after getting some cash because you don't like to buy ammo with a credit card, and you go to the range and you meet someone like this. He does not build guns very well, but that's because he has been shooting PRS for a really long time, and he is a wizard in long range. Now again, he may not fit the kind of community member that you want. But if you can share information, be a friend, build a relationship, he may be someone that you can text and say, hey man, how do you mount your optic? Or what are you doing to get the best accuracy out of your build? And you are still building a relationship with someone, trading good information.
Now, while you're at that range, you run into an influencer in the wild, a cosplayer, and he's out doing a photo shoot at the same range that you and all these other dudes are shooting at. And you're like, wow, total nerd, definitely doesn't have a girlfriend. But when he takes his mask off, you realize it's Gregory Wong, and he actually knows a lot about this stuff. So I'm gonna keep him in my camp because I'll tell you this about cosplayers, and I'll tell you this about LARPers, and I'll tell you this about guys in the airsoft community. They are some of the most resourceful dudes you will ever meet. If you have to figure out some weird way to set your gear up, I promise you they can figure it out in a heartbeat. So, and he's just cool. I'm gonna keep him in the crew.
Agreed.
All right. One really cool place to go is night vision community events where companies bring out night vision units and just let you test, experiment, and see what it's like before you buy. Steel Industries is one of those companies. They have an amazing customer service staff, and that's who we get all of our night vision from. We've been customers before we were sponsored, and they're just all around great. If you want to save a little bit whenever you buy an expensive night vision unit or even like laser aiming devices, link is in the description as well as the discount code.
Food's starting to get a little bit scarce, and besides, even if you did have something to shoot, Lil Chonker and your brother-in-law tend to turn ground beef into hockey pucks. But as it turns out, your neighbor used to travel the world all the time. He's a lefty, we won't hold that against him. And he also went to culinary school, and he knows that you can shoot squirrels, armadillos, groundhogs, and even if it's prepared properly, it can be delicious. So he may not necessarily be on the tactical team, but he lands somewhere between team and community.
Now, coming full circle to Tweedledee and Tweedledum, they may not look like the most squared away guys, but you know what? One of them, the short guy, the tiny dude, he's a full-time mechanic. This dude is a wizard around anything with an engine. Bikes, motorcycles, cars, trucks.
Christian.
Yeah, Christian Guzman.
Yeah.
That's actually totally not Christian. He's way more squared away than this guy. But this little fella is interested in this stuff. He's very enthusiastic, and my goodness, we have so much to learn from him because, again, mobility is one of our core traits, one of our core skill sets that we're always wanting to bump up and max out. And then Tweedledee on his left, your right, my right, your left, is actually amazing at bushcraft. He's taken all sorts of survival classes. Maybe he used to be in SEER and had to drop out, but he got enough, he learned enough in the meantime that he can teach a lot of that stuff. And he loves just going out into the woods and just surviving on some paracord and a blade. And these are two guys that maybe we don't invite them into the team yet, or maybe we invite them to a cookout with the core group of dudes, see how they fit in, see if they're even interested in being friends. And these are two guys that we want to definitely hang out with and build a relationship with. They're still kind of just in the community though.
This guy always wants to tell you about how the government's coming for you and we got to build our own smoker and we got to have our own, and I'm going to be putting together a bunch of beef jerky and I'm going to tenderize, and I'll be honest, the beef jerky is actually really good. The problem is he's not mentally stable and he's not the kind of person that you want to have around your wife, your kids, your whole community, and you just don't like being around him. The cool thing is, while he's really good at food preservation, it sparks an interest for you. So you take the idea, you start doing some of your own research, you're leaving this guy out there in the community, but now you're gonna do your own research and try and figure out how you can do some of those same things all on your own.
And then there's the guy who's excited about the government coming for you and not quite stable, not quite smart, not wise, does not have good discernment, and he is looking for an opportunity to pull a trigger. I'm glad I know who he is. I might be his target one day when he runs out of food and water and is starving. So I'm going to keep him in the community and not invite him into the crew.
Now, Lil Chonker came back up in conversation the other day, and as it turns out, his dad is still a school teacher in the area and has been educating younger kids for 30 years and is very, very good at that. On top of those things, he spends most of his time farming because it's a passion, it's something that's been in his family, and he has tractors and a lot of know-how and a lot of really good information in regards to teaching people and good things to teach people.
So my ag teacher in high school.
Oh, that's rad. We didn't have anyone like that in Portland, Oregon.
Well, you were also homeschooled. So.
That's fair. Now, he may be another individual that doesn't fall directly into the team because he's a busy man, but you're going to do everything that you can to take as much of his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and if he ever calls, you're going to be right there to jump in and help him because he's going to have a lot to teach you.
And then you have your local congressman.
Hello
a politician, but he's made pictures and videos in his marketing that show him wearing plate carriers, and he doesn't quite set them up the right way. You can tell he doesn't really use them that much, but he sure is trying to look the part. And so he is a part of local government. And believe it or not, local government can be very, very valuable, especially if you know them and befriend them. For example, if you ever need human intelligence, this guy probably knows everyone. If there's someone in this community that you're looking for a specific skill set and you don't know him, but you're friends with this guy, he can find them. So he is a very, very valuable member of the community. And if you play your cards right, he's on your side.
Don Julio lives a couple miles away, but he came up in conversation. As it turns out, he was run out of northern Mexico because he was growing marijuana and taking too much money from the local cartels. He moved up here, purchased a lot of land, seems to like you and your crew, and he says that he often has a very serious skunk problem. We haven't seen any skunks running around on his property, but he's happy to host you if you ever need space to shoot or camp or be able to go out and test your dirt bikes. He may not fall directly into the team, but he can still be someone that you can help inside of your community.
And he also may be a Fed. Then you have your old school childhood best friend who has grown up just like you. You've kind of grown apart over the years, but it's one of those friendships that the moment you run into each other, it's like no time had passed at all. He's still working in the coal mines, and he is an incredible handyman. He's just a tough dude who knows how to fix things, and all you would have to do is pick up the phone, call him, and he would do whatever it takes to help you out. He's a guy that, even though he's technically outside of the community, outside of the team, is someone that I can call, and maybe every once in a while I'll invite him up to hang out with me and the buddies. I'm keeping him in my team.
He also probably drinks PBR like it's water. You've decided to get out of your comfort zone and you step out and go to some local government meetings where you actually listen to some of what's going on. And there's a firefighter there who you strike up a conversation with. Now, firefighters are notorious for being really, really good at breaching either vehicles or structures. This is someone that you at least want to keep in the community, know who that person is, save their phone number if at all possible. They may or may not fall inside of the team, but would be a massive asset to you and a lot of other people as well.
This guy's a friend of a friend of a friend that is in your team, and somehow or another he wound up at the range the same day as you did. He probably invited himself, or he just heard about it and showed up. And he is all about telling people how his plan for the end of the world is to just take what he needs from people who have prepared. Obviously, he's not going to stay on our team, although I will say sometimes you need to keep your enemies closer than your friends. But I'm going to keep tabs on this guy. I'm going to know where he lives, what he does, what he's like, and I'm going to keep him at arm's length in the community.
This guy shows up out of the middle of nowhere and starts befriending everyone inside of your team. Everyone really likes him. He's got a lot of great education to teach you. Apparently he was former CIA and loves what it is that you guys are doing and is trying to push and really encourage everyone to get out there and do stuff, and is asking interesting questions online, and would like to see all the guns that you have in your safe, and would like to ask you about, wait a minute, this guy's probably a Fed.
Probably a Fed.
Probably don't even want him inside of the community if at all. Probably don't talk to this guy.
Now, we saw how schools shut down during the whole COVID scare, and in those times, a lot of people turned to homeschooling. It was kind of a movement that was already happening, but definitely like kicked off after everything going on in public schools, both with COVID. Oh yeah, you were homeschooled.
I was homeschooled.
No. And with just this, the public schools being, infiltrated by communism and all this woke ideology. So you have a set of homeschooling moms, and you know what? Ladies are totally capable of wearing this gear and training and being proficient to protect their families, because let's face it, the husbands are out working. So who's left to care and protect for the kids? Well, the ladies. So they are amazing for childcare and education. And if things were to ever cause our schools to shut down and you need some place to continue the education of your kids because you still have to work to put bread on the table, it's good to know guys who have wives like this and families who have ladies like this to cover your kids when it's necessary. So we are going to keep them in the community. We're not going to invite them to hang out with a bunch of dudes, because as men, we don't build relationships with women outside of our wives. They can be associates, but we are definitely going to become really good friends with their husbands. One day you get early access to Space Marines 2, Warhammer 40K, and you run into this guy because it is going to be a co-op game this time. And you start to build a friendship with him, and what do you know? He's into 3D printing. And he sends you all of his 3D printing files, all of his recommendations as to what kind of printer you should get, what kind of fuel or what kind of thread, I forgot what it's called. I don't know. I used to have a 3D printer. I didn't know how to use it, so I gave it to a buddy who does that full time so he could build us things. And that's what this guy is, a very valuable person to have in your broader online community. Maybe he lives across the country, but he can absolutely get you squared away in terms of information now that you can store for harder time.
You already have your fitness squared away, but you decided you want to start meeting new people and branching out. So you go take a BJJ class and you're traveling, and finally you find a gym with a guy who is teaching more than just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's teaching how to do it in a defensive way, also around concealed carry firearms or for law enforcement. And he is a really stellar person who wants to teach the average individual how to defend themselves when they do and don't have a firearm. I want to do everything that I can to bring this guy into the team. He's got a full-time job though, and he's really busy. He may land halfway between team and community.
And then you have a new age tactical nerd who is really into e-bikes.
Well, of course I know him. He's me.
And that's true, it's kind of me. But he's great with mobility. He's learning how to ride this thing. He's gonna graduate to dirt bikes next. And you know, he's very enthusiastic. He believes all the same things you do. He's eager, he's a young guy. He's also got a family with kids about the same age as yours. Really cool person to build a relationship with. Let's start inviting him out to hang out with the rest of the guys. So to tie all this together, as you pursue your skill sets, you're going to come across these people. As you live life, you're gonna come across these people. I think social media has given us all this false impression that these SMEs are all, you know, personalities on the internet. They're not. They're all around you. We've met so many people just here in our small area of Tennessee that to you and online are nobodies. No one knows who they are. They're just normal people living their lives off the internet. And all of these skill sets are available to us if we just get out and live life outside. We go to restaurants, we talk to people, we go to city council meetings or anything like that, or take classes or go to local ranges. These people are all around you, and it's up to you to make friends with them. And I will say this, please don't get this twisted and think that this is all about using people. No, this is about squaring yourself away first so that you're not a liability to yourself or your family, and also so that you can become an asset to those around you. This is about building trust. You don't build trust with people when you're just trying to use them. I mean, people are pretty smart. They can sniff out when you're just, you know, you don't really care about them. You're not really there for them. You just want something from them. So this is about really putting yourself out there and making yourself valuable to others, and that will naturally build a relationship between you and them.
One more thing to point out is we breezed through this pretty quickly. None of this happens overnight. You can't just assume that you're going to have your team and your community established with a long list of SMEs right out of the gate. No. All of this is going to take years, and it's taken years for us, and we're still in the process of trying to build that out, both helping people as well as finding people that can help us. This is going to be a project that you're going to have to work on for a long time, but the longer that you work on it, the better it's going to get for everyone.
And once you do get yourself squared away, maybe not 10 out of 10 on every single trait, but you're pretty well taken care of, you're good to go. Then it's a good time to start looking at a specialty so that you become one of these special assets that other people are looking for.
Now, before we close, we do have to thank Illustration Nathan. He has done an incredible job at affecting his community. If you guys haven't seen some of the stuff that he's posted on Instagram and the content that he's made, it's been something that I've enjoyed for a really long time, and all of these cutouts and graphics are from his hard work and art over many, many years.
And our logo was actually made by him. So if you like our dog logo on our merch, which you can buy on our site, Nathan made that for us. We did pay him for it.
Sure.
Even though he offered to do it for next to nothing.
We also have to thank Patreon.
Yes.
You guys, they get content like this faster than anyone else, and we do everything that we can to get back to them before anyone else, because we get a lot of DMs, and they have first access to us.
And as one final note, if you've made it to the end of this video and you feel like you have a cheat code or a hack on where to find like-minded people in a community, please post it in the comments, whether it's church or a local farmer's market or just festivals or a gym, local like ranges. Maybe don't post, you know, exactly where it's at, like
Sounds
GPS.
A little bit too much like a Fed.
It
Don't
does.
be too specific.
Yeah, don't be too specific, but please just give people a nudge in the right direction. We've given you all a ton of ideas, but I know that you all have probably thousands more.